Welcome back to the news today. This is One on One. We often speak in depth on this show about the chaotic reality in the Middle East, about conflict, and the many attempts at solutions. But the work of our guest tonight gives a slightly different view on the Middle East through sports and karate in particular. Joining me is Eyal Nir, Vice President of the World Traditional Karate Federation, who works in partnership with Jordan. Thanks very much for being with me. So I want to begin with Jordan. It's appropriate that on the same day that Israel and Jordan are signing a major water deal, Jordan, a delegation is arriving in Israel also for the work that you do together. Tell me how you came to this partnership.
They're neighbors, we have peace, but it could be better. Everybody realizes. And we have a unique way of trying to promote the relations between our two countries through, as you indicated, through the martial arts or traditional karate. Specifically, I have been working with my friend, Sensei Imad Halil of Jordan, arriving today to Israel, and he's heading the federation on Jordan side, me on Israel side, and jointly we have some unique initiatives for, working and doing things and establishing a new center in the Middle East to get the people, not the governments, but the people to work and train and hopefully, create a new reality.
So that's what's interesting about this on the personal level, because as you said, there has been for a long time peace between Israel and Jordan, but what's on paper in terms of between the people and the actual friendliness is maybe far from what it should be. How does that cooperation actually work? What obstacles did you run into getting this together between Israel and Jordan?
There's always logistics. I mean, you need to cross the border and visa, blah, blah, but when there is, good intention, some vision, and when we train, we call this dojo, or a place of training, it's becoming it's like irrelevant where you're from. We train, we do mental, physical, and we're people. So like today we start a 3-day seminar in the city of Netanya, and then we have an international tournament.
Northern Israel, more or less.
More or less.
Mid-north.
By the sea. And the big thing, and it's almost a dream, a vision. So it's very initial, but it's a big. We are going, God willing, to establish an international, BudO martial arts center on the border between Israel and Jordan that would serve the entire region, I would say.
Do you find that people came to this when you have people coming to actually take part in martial arts and karate, to compete or just to take part in the program? Do you find they come with preconceived notions of the other?
My experience, as I said before, when you go down to actual training, like I share my personal thing. I've been training for many years with a great master, Nishiyama Sensei. It's like a legend, right? In Los Angeles, the USA. And it's because he's so famous and worldwide, it's like number one. So many people used to come from whatever, England, Japan, Iraq. And I remember the people.
Really all over the place.
And I'm this, so my religion, my language of choice, but when we train together and we face one another, it disappears. It's irrelevant.
It's interesting because you say this, and looks like the picture of how sports should be. This is the ideal. This is the notion. But there are many cases where, if we're speaking about Israel, for example, where you have Israeli athletes, a lot of controversy over different sporting events, banned from different sporting events in places like Qatar and so on. How do you view that? Because it seems the line between politics and sports is not always so clear.
But you're talking organization-wise, and then you have all those conflicts and irrelevant. But as a people, it's me and Mr. Imad Khalil. I forget about I'm from Israel, he's from Jordan. It's like it's irrelevant, as I said before. And that's the idea, as I said before. We have some Japanese people involved in this great initiative I mentioned before. And 2 days ago, we went with a Japanese architect to the proposed site, on the river, on the border between Israel and Jordan. He was, wow, this is amazing, we were going to do this. And he was like already, visualizing how it's going to look like. And our vision is to have all those people, not just Jordan. Through Jordan, we want to have all those, Gulf countries like Dubai and I don't know the names.
United Arab Emirates.
Right. So, we hope it's going to be open for everyone, regardless of where you're from.
What kind of obstacles, when you're talking about actually building something, creating a center that sounds incredible between Jordan and Israel on the border, which, as we know, is one of the many tense locations around in this neighborhood? What stands in front of you to make that happen?
Money,
is it the government?
Money,
is it
but that's
government?
obvious. We need. But
money.
Again, we are not naive. I mean, we are visionaries. I hope we try, but then we are very realistic. Okay, so we know we need to get the support of major relevant organization budget. It's going to take a few years. It's not a 2 months project. So we realize that, and that's why we start working with people, organizations, governments, Israel, Jordan, Japan, others, and we have this task team, A team, already working. It's very initial, but it's already in process.
But it has to start somewhere.
And God willing, please interview me a year from now, and
we'll see where the center is at.
Yeah.
What do you think that the way you describe sports and people, these sort of all of these notions and the politics falling away, is quite ideal for this region, for the Middle East? Is there something you think that the average, the society in general, if we're talking about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which is of course a very big subject to get into, but something that can be taken, something that can be learned practically from what you're doing in sports?
I think whatever you do, it should be an ongoing process, not a one-time thing, because we do have, and we and others, you do a gathering, a meeting, a one-time training. Okay, you come train, very nice, but then each one goes back to his own environment and, way of thinking. So it needs to be something that goes on. There's a continuation. And then you can build something and change and get to trust the other side of people. So whatever we do, we try to make sure it's a long-lasting thing and not a one-time thing.
Right.
That's critical, I think.
Can you imagine sports, if something like what you're doing, if you were to open sort of chains, let's call them, or if you were to sort of export this idea to a few places in the region, you think that actually has the power to affect change?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's not funny, it's nice. Last year, a few months back, we had the World Championship in Geneva, right? And we sent a big team, 60 people, Jewish, Arab, kids, youth, adults, to perform in the city of Bern and Geneva, and it was very nice. The people, the people came from the World Cup. They saw our initiative, Middle East, and then from their own initiative, we didn't say anything. The people from Russia and Ukraine, they said, we want to do the same.
Those are two people, two countries that could really use this.
And they were there for the World Cup. And spontaneously, they made up some, demonstration performance, and they performed. After we came, Jewish, Arab, and they said, okay, next one, Russia and Ukraine. So it's
so it does,
you give the direction,
a ripple
and
effect.
People get that.
So tell me a little bit about personally how you ended up here.
Wow. Okay, long story made short. I've been training many years, as I said, with Nishiyama Sensei. He's like a legend.
What drew you to karate, man, in the first place? I
want to. Sorry.
You just wanted to fight.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. I don't know. Honestly, people look for some nice story, but a friend of mine said, you should try. I said, karate, fighting? Oh, well, I'm not a fighter. I tried, and then, it's been many, many years back. Today, and for me, it's everything coming. I serve as vice president of the International Federation. Of course, I'm from Israel. I'm proud of it, but from my position, vice president, I have the opportunity to promote global initiative, taking the treasure of knowledge of BudO, martial arts, and leverage that for really important project, initiative beyond the self-defense context, right? Such as promoting peace, education with UNESCO, and I really feel, I'm trying to be, modest, but we can make a difference. We can change through the Japanese culture, change things in our region and beyond.
Well, from what you're saying, what you're already doing, it sounds like you are making a change. And sometimes it can seem in this region where everything is very cynical, and a lot of times our conversations end up cynical, this kind of thing it's real. And so what you're doing is a wonderful thing, and I hope it's exported more. And good luck with your current tournament. Eyal Nir, thanks very much for being with me.
Thank you.
And that's it for us for tonight and for this week. Join us back next week, next Sunday evening, for another edition of The News Today.